Hello. We are in the sixth line of the 38th gate. The 38 is the gate of the fighter, it's the gate of opposition, and the sixth line is called misunderstanding. Each of these gates that comes out of the root center and points towards the splenic have very unusual Uranian lines. We've seen the 58-1, the love of life. We're coming to the 54-4 in a few days' time, which is the mystical line of enlightenment, endarkenment. And here we have the 38-6, which is called misunderstanding. This unusual line is the quality that exists in the individual process. The 38-6 has a direct resonance to the 20 in the 6 line that is going from the fuel here in the root, going up to the expression of the stream of intuition. The expression in the 20 in the 6th line in the throat is wisdom. Wisdom in the now that is of value to society and to civilization. The 38-6 is one of the most potentially mutative of all gates in the individual process. The only lines that are intrinsically more mutative are the lines that you will find in the 3rd gate. What you are seeing here in this particular line is a mutative force. It is a mutative force because mutation always brings something new, and something new can be very understood. No, misunderstood. Get the name of the line right. It can always be, oh, someone's cooking something really funny out there. Excuse me a moment. Oh, it smelled like school dinners. It's very difficult for individuals, even when they have the opportunity at the mental level to be able to explain themselves. When you're dealing with a fuel, with a pressure in the 38-6, this is a fundamental knowing of what is worth struggling for, or, as is more often the case, what is not worth the struggle. There is always this misunderstanding from the outside because they don't seem to fit into any kind of recognized pattern from the past. In the 3rd line phase of this 6th line, they will have had the early recognition that alliance is something that seems to be possible. Remember that the 3rd line doesn't really know the other, so in banging into the other, there are all these possibilities that arise that say, oh, maybe with the other it's possible, maybe. But it's so difficult for the individual. They're saying maybe I should listen to the other, but they're deaf. They're so deaf. The lifetime learning says opposition without basis. This is the ultimate expression of individuality. There is my way, there is no other way. I either know or I don't know, but I don't want to know what you know. I can't hear it anyway. I'm too involved being stubborn. And they get up on their hill and they say in their melancholy that there is nothing in the struggle that makes sense, that gives any value for them. And they feel terrible. And they want everybody to leave them alone because they know that life is useless. And at the same time, they can't help but watch what goes on around them. They can't help but see that it appears some people out there do have real value in their lives. In the exaltation, eventual crystallization, which clears up misunderstandings, energy which attracts misunderstanding, and the stubbornness to face opposition. These are people who are always getting into problems by being misunderstood by the other. Why are you so damn stubborn? They'll say. Can't you see you're wrong? And of course they can't. They can't hear you in the first place. These people know something that other people don't know. Although they still don't know what it means and they don't know how to express it. It's just there's something inside. And they can seem like they're fighting for something and nobody understands why they're fighting or what they're fighting about. And they themselves might not have any idea why they're struggling, what they're fighting for. This is the nature of the 38-6. But there is eventual crystallization. It's that the silver lining or the light at the end of the tunnel, eventual crystallization. It's a mutative process. Eventually, the mutation can take hold. And in that moment, the mutation gets to manifest. It gets expressed or generated. In that moment, it is possible to recognize what the struggle has been for. And then all those people around them that were struggling with them let go, and the struggle can end. In the detriment, the recognition that misunderstanding is at the root of opposition, but the insistence that it is the misunderstanding of the opposing forces. Where misunderstanding is at the root of struggle, the energy of stubbornness to insist and maintain one's position. You cannot give up the struggle. The 38-6 can never give up the struggle. They struggle not to struggle. They climb up on the hill thinking they won't have to struggle anymore, only to discover that they still have to struggle. And they will always be in that process until their life is of value to them. And remember, the 38th gate is not an awareness, it's a stress. It's the stress that builds when life is not of value. It's the pressure that builds when there's no purpose. It's that stress, it's that pressure that is expressed in their capacity to struggle, in their stubbornness. When you meet an individual who gives up their stubbornness, you know that actually they're in a really bad place. Because the stubbornness, the need to struggle, it must remain. If they can't find it until they live out their nature, you can't find it. Does that make sense? If you're not living out your nature, you don't find what it is that you're struggling for. That makes sense. So you hold on to that stubbornness because it's the stubbornness to look for what is of value. You can't just let that drop, because then what are you saying about your life? You have to stay with your definition, your type, your authority. And if you're an individual, you can't find that value until you're clear about the chemistry of melancholy, because otherwise that distorts your perception too. It can be really tough to be up on that hill with the chemistry of melancholy, to become sad and not understand the value of the sadness, to not know that it is for you to have a creative environment, the creative opportunity to see what could be worth struggling for, and to be involved in the depth of that struggle, in that sadness, in its creative field. As an individual, you have the ability to recognize that you externalize this capacity to fight, but you can only do that when you're in the right mood. You can only do that when you're in the happy stage of your chemistry. That's the productive stage. If you fight when you're sad, victory is going to be very difficult to find. In understanding ourselves, in being able to live out our own nature, then we can come to these points in our process where we do have clarity, real clarity about ourselves, about our lives. And of course, the 38th gate must remain stubborn until life is of value. Always keep in mind that channels can be seen in their polarity. Struggle can be eliminated. The struggle for the value of life can be eliminated once purpose is discovered. And this is real transcendence. The moment that any 38 can see that its energy, once applied, can bring it to a sense of purpose and value in its life, excellent. Then you've found that thing, and the struggle doesn't have to be there. The stubbornness doesn't be there anymore. The 38-6 doesn't fight. They do not engage in struggle. Their struggle is all held within because nobody understands them. There is a very clear description of this in the keynote. The keynote does not belong to individuality, misunderstanding. The 38-6 is the bane of the collective, the drive to, no, not the drive, because it's the misunderstanding. Okay, forget that bit. I don't know what I was going to say. But they're the bane of the collective, and they can drive the collective bonkers. The collective can deal with individual knowing that has been around for a while. They can get used to that, but they have a lot of problems with individual knowing that is brand new and that cannot be explained to them. So they come up against a wall of struggle that they can't deal with. And if we recognize the nature of a 6th line, it's the line that is looking for the quality of the whole circuit. Not only is the knowing finally there that gives value to the life, it also leads to the awareness that gives life its proper form, its proper convictions, and brings out awakeness in the now, which can mutate all of that society. This is the potential that comes up from the 38 as it moves up the channel and into integration, which is so complex. No wonder that the 38-6 is misunderstood. How difficult a process is all that? For all 6 lines in individual gates, it is much more difficult to make any kind of a commitment than it is for a collective 6 line or a tribal 6 line. They can be pulled in fairly quickly, especially the tribe. The collective takes a little bit longer, but to bring in an individual 6 line, to get a commitment out of an individual 6 line, tricky, because it has to come from their unique knowing. So at the end of this process, when you get to the top here, you look out over all the struggles that are possible and you see clearly that it doesn't matter whether your life is full of misunderstanding, as long as you hold on to that struggle so that you can finally see that life is of value. And the real value is leading to ambition. And it is leading to a gate of special magic in the 54, leading to the material plane. And it's one of those things to see that the struggle for value in life has a clear and deep association to our material well-being. A 28-38 who has limited resources is going to struggle and suffer much more than the 38-28 who has abundance, because in that abundance, the value of life is easier to recognize. If you have enough to eat, you're not going to have to struggle for food. But if you don't have enough to eat, your whole life may be about struggling for food. And that may be the only thing that's of value. And the larger context of value for you and for your own life may be lost. So this movement from the 38 to the 54 brings us back to the importance of what the tribe and tribal circuitry is here for in our process. We must have a secure foundation. This is not about taking a vow of poverty. This is about all of us recognizing that in order for communities and societies and civilizations to flourish, there must be a general well-being and general material wealth. The grounding comes from the 39 and the 6th line, which is called the troubleshooter. When you have the collective misunderstanding you, when you're trying to bring your mutation into a world that's not sure whether it wants it or not, maybe having the energy of the troubleshooter might just ease your way a little bit. The moon has been in gate 37 since 0118 this morning. At 1100, it moves into the head gate 63, the gate of doubt, the pressure to look for answers, logical answers. This gate can be skeptical by nature, always questioning, suspicious, distrustful, until it has questioned the logic of something for itself. Moon next goes into gate 22 at 2041. This is the solar plexus gate of grace or disgrace, or openness or closedness. This is individualities and it's part of the only social channel in individuality. It is in the same stream as the 3955, so there's quite a pressure on emoting right now, if the timing is right. Don't do anything that you're not in the mood for. And another solar plexus gate is next as the moon moves into gate 36, the gate of crisis, the darkening of the light. This is the collective stream of feelings. It's the human experiential way. And gate 36 can be restless. It can search for new experiences. It can feel the nervousness of sexual inadequacy, which pushes it to have many more partners in order to gain the experience it desires and it thinks that it needs in order to have some kind of prowess and to overcome its vulnerability. So there we go. Gate 38. We move into gate 54 tomorrow, the marrying maiden, the gate of ambition. I look forward to meeting you there. Thank you for joining me. Go gently.